and then I'm gonna think about that grammar structure in my mind, and I'm going to construct my sentences according to that grammar structure. That is not what you have to do. And when you start doing it in your mind, that's why you're not able to speak, because by the time you're forming a sentence. Hi everyone, my name is Shivangi, and today we are going to address a huge problem that every English learner is facing and they almost face. And this is the topic that has been requested to me a lot in my live sessions, in the comments, and you are constantly asking me this thing. And I do understand that if you're facing this, it is quite common. And the problem is that you understand English. You can understand English completely, but when you speak it, you're not able to speak. So you can understand English but can't speak it. This is a common problem. If you're facing this is something common that happens to every English learner. But the thing is that we need to know why is this happening. And after knowing that why is this happening, we have to also find a solution for that. And today in this video, I am going to address this problem on your request, and we are going to get to the deepest level of this problem. Why is this happening and what you can do to overcome this problem. So let's begin. First of all, I would like to say is when you understand English, it means that you're able to listen to English and you're completely okay with that. For example, whatever I am saying right now, you're able to understand that. So you can listen to English comfortably. You can read English novels, English books, newspapers, articles. You're completely okay with that, completely comfortable with that. In fact, you might even understand the grammar structures. That's also a good part for you. And your writing skills may be even good. But the thing is that the problem is speaking, that you're not able to speak. You have knowledge of English. If you can understand English, definitely you have knowledge of English. But what happens is, as soon as you start speaking, your mind goes blank. You don't know where to start. You don't know which word to say. You're not able to retrieve words. It's like what to say, what to do, from where do I begin. These are the kinds of thoughts that are coming in your mind whenever you are asked, or you're faced with a situation where you have to speak in English. And if you're facing this, that's okay, that's completely okay, because we are going to address it. See, whenever we are learning a new language, whatever language it is, just not English, even if I take a foreign language, whenever you are learning a language, when you listen is something that we do in a passive mode. That is, we are taking up the information, we are receiving information, and when we speak, we have to retrieve that information back. So it is very easy for human mind to store information, to receive information. But when we have to retrieve the same information, we have to do some work. And that is when speaking becomes a difficult part, because you don't know what to retrieve, from where to retrieve, and what to say at what time. Because what you're doing is, sometimes you're translating, sometimes you don't even know what to say, sometimes you're tongue tied because you don't have courage enough to speak in English. And this is something that we need to stop. So how to stop that, how to overcome that, we are going to discuss, don't worry. Whenever we are learning a language, listening is the first step. Why? Because we need to receive information in order to produce something, that is speaking. Speaking is a task of production, and when we listen or when we read, it's a receptive task. We are receiving information. So in order to do productive tasks related to a language, first we have to do receptive tasks, that is receiving information through listening and reading. And if you are understanding the language, that means congratulations, you have done half of your work. Half of your problem is solved. Because understanding a language is also a huge thing. That's a huge achievement. Because right now there are lots and lots of languages out there. Are you able to understand all of them? For example, let's say Portuguese, or maybe French, maybe Mexican. Are you able to understand those language? Definitely not. That means if you're understanding English language, if you're able to listen to it, you're reading it, and you're fine with it, that means you have achieved something. You have achieved almost half of the things. Not half, rather, I'd say you have done your 60% of the work, 60 to 65%. That's completed, that's already done. So stop seeing the glass as, half empty. Start seeing it as it is half full. Change your perspective of seeing the way. You are constantly looking at something that you're not able to do, that is speaking. That's why it is creating anxiety. It's resonating. What's resonating? It means that whenever you're focusing on the problem seems bigger and bigger and bigger each time you look at it. So each time you look at the problem, it seems bigger than the previous time, and you exaggerate it a lot. So you need to stop doing that and start looking at the positive aspect that you have already done 65% of your work. You can understand the language. That means if you can understand the language, then your speaking task is not that difficult. It's not that difficult because you already have the information with you that you need in order to speak. You have the basics of the language with you. The thing is that you need to train yourself to speak. Now, what is it? What is that I mean that you have to train yourself to speak? There is the small gap. The small gap. I call it a small gap. Some people might call it a huge gap. For me, it's a small gap. Why? Because it's your perspective. That small gap is understanding the language and speaking the language. And why I'm calling it a small gap? Because it all depends on your initiative. If you can understand the language, you can definitely speak it. Thing is that we are not tackling the things in the right way. We are not learning the things, or we are not addressing the problem in the right way. So if we are going to address it in the right way, this gap is going to appear just little small to us, and we will be able to close this gap quite quickly. Obviously it will take time. It's not like it will not take time. It will take your time and efforts, but this is not such a huge gap. It's there in your mind. In your mind, it appears that there's a huge gap between understanding the language and speaking the language, but it's not like that. The gap is very small. That is your initiative. Now, what initiative you need to do? This is the solution to the problem, that first of all, you need to start speaking. Whenever you're feeling nervous, you're feeling like you don't know the words, you don't know what to say, where to begin, you have listened to the language, right? You have read the language, you have some phrases, some words with you. Whatever you know, start speaking, because one day you have to take that step. You cannot speak like an expert on your first attempt. When you speak, it will not happen to you. It never happens to anybody. I don't think so it ever happened to me, because I am speaking English since my school days. So maybe as a student, I used to make mistake that I'm not even aware about. The thing is that speaking and speaking and speaking it again made me fluent in this language without even me realizing it. And it's not like you speak and you neglect any other things. You start speaking your English and then start learning basic grammar to understand what you're speaking. So you need to pay attention to the basic grammar, yes, but not focus too much on grammars. Like, first I'm gonna learn all the grammar structure, and then I'm gonna think about that grammar structure in my mind, and I'm going to construct my sentences according to that grammar structure. That is not what you have to do. And when you start doing it in your mind, that's why you're not able to speak, because by the time you're forming a sentence, the time is over. The person might not be interested to listen. Maybe the conversation got over and you lost your chance to speak. And then when this happens on a repeated scale, when this is happening repeatedly, you think that you're not able to speak in English. The thing is that take every chance to speak. whatever you're speaking, however you're speaking, that's okay. Speak. And if you are so conscious about speaking it in a wrong way or making some mistakes, start practicing your English. I'd say 10 minutes. You can start by 10 minutes in a day and try to increase it by 20 minutes. I think 10 to 20 minutes they are enough. So start with 10 minutes and set a timer that for 1 minute continuously I am going to speak in English without stopping, without taking a pause, right? So taking a pause means to take a pause to think about things, not just taking a pause at all. I don't mean that. Taking a pause means to think about what you're going to say or to translate in your mind. You're not going to take a pause for that particular purpose. So don't do that. Speak whatever is coming in your mind. Speak for 1 minute, take a topic, or maybe talk about your day, whatever you want to do. You need to do that. So that is, you need to practice and speak at every opportunity. Now, the another thing is that you have to overcome this fear and be brave about your first step. You know, first step needs bravery. Obviously, it does. And whenever you try to do something new, it takes your efforts. You have to make some efforts. So the thing is that, are you making enough efforts? So if you will make enough efforts, you will start speaking in English. And then you have to have the patience, because when you take first step, it takes small steps to reach your destination. So if I want to reach the topmost layer, I have to take the first step and I have to go step by step. I cannot reach terrace in one jump. Cannot do that. That looks good in movies for superheroes, but in real life, in reality, we cannot take a jump to reach terrace. We can't do that. We have to go step by step. Similarly, whenever we are learning a language, English language, whenever we are trying something new, whatever new we are doing, we have to go step by step. And each step has its own value. So now you have already cleared the first step. Don't think that you are taking the first step of learning the language. No, your first step, not first step. Basically, you're halfway to the ladder. If you understand language, you're halfway to the ladder. Now, the remaining half distance is your speaking part. Now, for the remaining half part, where you're stuck right in the middle, you need to take your first step for the remaining half part. So start speaking, be courageous, be brave, and start practicing. It all depends on you. You are your sole responsibility. You have your sole responsibility for improving your English. And the problem is that we discussed today is that you're able to understand and not able to speak. Now you know why you're not able to speak. Because you are thinking about it as such a huge problem. So don't do it. And the lack of practice, again I would say the lack of practice is one of the problems. So practice, be courageous, be brave, and take that first step, because you're already halfway there. When you're already halfway there, what's so big in covering the next half distance? We can do that. Definitely we can do that. I hope that all the tips that I gave you today and whatever I've discussed, it was helpful for you and you are now able to get a lot of insight to this particular problem that you are facing. This is a common problem and this is not such a huge problem. We can overcome it. You can definitely do it if you want. So I hope that you like the video. If you do, then please like it, share it, and subscribe my channel if you're new here. I'm Shivangi, and I'm gonna meet you next time in the new video with a new topic. Till then, take care and bye.